in the end, yeah, I'm very satisfied with my career. I've done a lot more than I ever anticipated I would do. I've talked and written about a lot of different issues. But kind of the overriding issue that I'm proud of and glad that I've contributed to was that the most important thing, or certainly one of the most important things, is to give people freedom.
Hello, Professor Lee. Could you tell us how did you start interested in economics?
How did I get started?
Yes.
Well, I actually didn't do very well in school at first, and I dropped out of San Diego State and got a job with the post office. And I found out after about 6 months that I did not want to work for a living. And so I decided to go back to school, and I took economics. I liked economics. I learned a lot of Keynesian stuff, which I since forgotten and kind of discarded. But that really opened my eyes to what academics could be like. I became a good student. And then I dropped out for a couple of years and worked with the county of San Diego and found out about how governments operate. And I got a little suspicious of all that Keynesian stuff when I saw how governments actually operated. And so then I went back to University of California, San Diego, and got a PhD in economics. And got a job at University of Colorado, and was there about 8 years, and I started getting some publications. And then I got this invitation from the Virginia VPI, Virginia Tech, to join the Public Choice Center there, and I met Buchanan and Tulloch, and that really got me started in economics and public choice.
How is that a person like you study mainstream economics and keynesianism, and how do you move from that kind of economics to a more liberal economics, more liberal, classical economics?
Liberal, right. Well, it was a matter of just which one made more sense to me. And of course, working with Jim Buchanan and people like that, I really got to questioning some of the stuff I had read and understood before. But actually that started before I met Buchanan. I mean, I'm not sure Buchanan would have hired me if I hadn't already started a transition. And that started really in graduate school, because there were quite a few free market types there. The education was very mathematical, and so it wasn't so much that I learned about markets, but the math I learned suggested to me that markets were going to doing a good job. And then that was reinforced after I got to VPI, Virginia Tech, because it wasn't just that markets did a good job, far better job than most people realized. It was that the political process, when you start studying public choice, you realize that the political process doesn't work nearly as well as most people.
And you have been doing a lot of research about public choice.
Right.
And I found that you have many articles talking about incentives, how incentives matters.
Yeah.
Could you tell something about that?
Well, I mean, economics is all about incentives. Economics is about people respond in predictable ways to incentives. And if you think about that, it makes perfectly good sense. But a lot of people don't think much about it, and they think a lot of things are done by good intentions, and good intentions are important, but they're not enough if you have incentives that are wrong. Even if you take good people and put them in a situation where the incentives motivate them to, get benefits at the expense of others, a lot of good people will yield to that motivation. And that's the political process, where you can actually benefit yourself by doing things that take from others, harm others. If you get the incentives right, where you benefit yourself if you do things that benefit others, through markets, for example, then even bad people will tend to do good things. Now, you might not give them high moral grades if they're bad people, but even bad people can actually be beneficial to society if they pursue their interests through the incentive structure of markets, which rewards them when they do things that benefit themselves but also benefit others.
With your point of view, what should be the role of the government?
The government's very, very important. The government, has to do certain things that markets don't do very well. There's public goods. There's not many of them. There's not nearly as many as a lot of people would lead you to believe. But there are goods that once you provide them for one person, you provide them for everybody. And so you have a situation where no one has much benefit, much motivation or incentive to contribute to them. If you do the hard work and pay for it, I'll get the benefits whether I do or not. They're non-rival, like national defense, like cleaning up the environment. If you clean up the environment for yourself, if I live next door, I'm going to get the benefits whether I paid or not. I'll let you do the work, I'll get some of the benefits. And so there's reasons to have political process, first of all, do things where there's a common benefit element, public good element, but also even markets where I will benefit others because I benefit and other people benefit too from buying what I produce. Well, that requires trade and private property. You can't trade unless you have private property, but that requires enforcing certain rules that might not be enforced otherwise. People might want to steal, violate your property rights, force you to buy things, take money from you whether you bought them or not. And so government has a vital role to play in those areas.
You recently have been writing and talking about environmental issues,
right.
Green.
Yeah. So I did a lot of work, and basically, it's simple economics, and a lot of people don't like this view, but you treat the environment as you treat any other thing that's good. Everybody loves environmental quality. There's nothing wrong with environmental quality, obviously. We're all environmentalists in the sense we all like cleaner water, cleaner air, but it's a benefit like every other benefit that isn't free. You have to pay for it. There's scarcity. If you want cleaner environment, you have to give up some of the things that you would like to have that make the environment dirty, or you would have to spend money on things that filter out the dirt and get rid of it, or allow you to put it where it's less harmful, and that reduces your ability to produce the things you might otherwise have enjoyed. And so if you take that view, you recognize that the optimal amount of pollution is not zero. The optimal amount of pollution is the amount that, the benefits you get from cleaner air are at the margin equal to what you sacrifice from not having other things. And there's no really good way of doing that because there's no markets for clean air. If I dirty up the air, I don't have to pay you what it cost you to have dirty air. And so we don't have markets. I don't see a price for dirtying up the air, so I just dirty it up. And as a result, we could bring the government in and they could charge a tax or do something that would motivate me to reduce my pollution. In other words, to take your benefit into consideration, the value that you would benefit if I reduce my pollution, and you would do the same for me. And it's not perfect because it's only on one side of the market, but it still works better than the command and control approach that the government tends to use, which costs a lot more to get less environmental quality. If we love freedom, and most people claim they do, and I certainly do, you don't just say, well, let's give people freedom. You give people freedom in the context of a market where they will use that freedom responsibly. We want a society of free and responsible individuals, and that requires a set of incentives that no other economic system has ever provided as effectively as markets.